Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. I have recently gotten a lot of questions about eBay. Especially with all the scammer videos I do, a lot of people are very hesitant about eBay, and good for you. You should be hesitant about all your purchases. You should scrutinize everyone that you're buying from, not just eBay. Let's remember that eBay is a marketplace where anybody can be a seller and sell it to anyone who wants to buy it. eBay is the platform. eBay does not verify any of this stuff at all. When I talked to them, said the hobby should police itself. And when they told me that, well, there are the birth of my scammer videos. So, you have to do your due diligence when it comes to eBay. Now, there's a lot of things that unscrupulous sellers will do. They will use extremely bright lights to basically white out all of the creases and all of the things on a note that would distract or lower the grade. And you do have to be aware of stuff like that. A lot of people use eBay as a store. It is their storefront. So they will have an item and they will put it up there with a very specific asking price. A lot of us think of eBay as an auction, and it is, but there's also the store aspect as well. People tend to buy items at auction and then put it on their eBay store for a set price. If you are buying notes at a set price, you are at the mercy of the seller, because the seller feels they have taken all kinds of pictures of the note and they are sending you the note that they have pictured. Whether the picture is doctored in a way where everything is blurred out is insignificant in their eyes. So what I do is, when I am buying on eBay, I am generally buying notes that are at auction. Generally, the notes are going to start at $1 or a penny or whatever, and they will go up from there. And that way, I have some control over how much I'm willing to spend on any given note. When a note is ungraded, I generally don't look too much further past that VG8 price, because I don't necessarily trust the seller to be honest in their photo. So that is my number one starting point when it comes to me buying stuff. I look at the value of the note, and I don't try to grade the note through eBay, because it can be extremely difficult to get an accurate grade based on the prices that they use. That is also the benefit of buying graded notes off of eBay, because now you've taken that whole deception out of it, and people can simply look at the grade and check with PMG or PCGS and read whatever they had to say about the note right there on the website. So I'm going to continue with a bunch of other eBay hints and tips, because there's a lot of questions, and I know I seem to come for eBay, but it's not eBay that I'm coming for. It's some of the sellers on eBay that I'm coming for, but not necessarily eBay. All right, so I got my 1,000 singles. Let's take a look at what I found this week. Found an error. Look at that ink smear. No. This is blue ink, most likely from the pocket of a pair of jeans that got wet and the ink sapped out onto the note. It does not go through the note, but, well, it actually does a little bit. There's a little bit of it coming through there. But yeah, they don't use blue ink on notes, so no, when you see something like this, that's a brand new pair of wet jeans that where the ink came off. Probably cheap jeans at that. Not an error. I've got an alternator. This has 0 as the alternator, so the number is 50, 80, 30, 30. That's kind of cool. And then what do we got here? I've got some trinaries. This is 2s, 3s, and 6s. 2s, 3s, and 4s. 2s, 9s, and 8s. There are people that will add all these numbers up and go, oh, that's a huge number. I mean, 9, so it's 19, 27, 36, 45, 54, 62. They go, oh, it adds up to 62. Only 5% of all numbers add up to 62. So what? I mean, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make it valuable. It's just a neat thing to point out. That's all. Let's see. Another trinary, 1s, 3s, and 6s. If that one was a 3, that would be a repeater, but nope, it's not, so it's not worth anything. What do I got here? 0s, 6s, and 8s? No, that's not, because it's got a 2 in there as well. So that one is in the wrong pile. I'll get that out of there. Then we've got 3s, 5s, and 8s on this one. 0s, 5s, and 8s here. 2s, 3s, and 7s. Look at all the trinaries I found in this group. I just want to point that out. Whenever you see people saying, oh, trinaries are worth... No, in 1,000, look at how many of these I just pulled. Here's another one. 1s, 7s, and 9s. 5s, 6s, and 8s. Yeah, these are not rare. Then we've got quads. This has quad 2s, quad 8s, quad 8s again. And that covers that. Now, I say it all the time. I save trinaries and I save quads hoping to match pairs. That's why. Not because they're worth anything. If I ever need to, I can take all those and return them to the bank. And yeah, it's a great long-term savings account. But remember, it's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. And I have fun with it. Here are my stars. 2017A star note. Always checking to see if they're filled. Another 2017A. Another one, and another, and another. Quite a few stars. So stars are not going away yet. They're still easy enough to find. Here's a 2013B star note, but it's not in the range. The duplicate range for these was numbers 250,000 or less, and then 032 to 096. So this one's clearly 1 something, so that's not in the duplicate range. And then the older notes, 2003A, 2003A, another 2003A. I save these because they're 20 years or older, and that's why I pull them. Most of these are going to go back in circulation, but I like to keep one in the best condition I can find for each reserve to put into my big book. And yeah, you just don't see too many of the older notes, so I save those. 2001 with writing, so that's going to go away. 2001, actually in nice shape. 1999, pretty brutalized. 1999, much better shape. 1995, not a web note. And the oldest note I found, this is from 1985. So that's what I found this week. What did I pull out? Well, I pulled out something that also has an eBay story. I pulled out both of my 1907 $5 legal tenders. I say both of them. They're both, as you can see, 1907. The Freeburg number is 91 on both of them. And we'll start with this one here. The reason this is a Woodchopper, the 1907 legal tender, and when you look at that picture, I mean, to me, this note just screams like 1850s. You've got the husband and wife with the baby. He's got his rifle here. He's holding his axe right with the pile of wood there. He's got the dog. Cabin in the background. I mean, that's just mid-19th century Americana. You've got, who's that? That's Andrew Jackson there. And just a cool image. I mean, it says series of 1907, which makes this a 20th century note, but that image is pure 19th century. I mean, he's got his hat, a feather in his cap. That's pretty cool. Looking at the back of this note, you can see it has a huge white area where you can actually see the red and blue fibers in the note. That was the anti-counterfeiting measure of the time. And it does have the thing about a $5,000 fine or 15 years in prison at hard labor or both when it comes to counterfeiting. So this is the normal note, and then I also have the public error. Now the public error has to do with the phrasing on the back. And if you look right here, it says for all debts public and private, but the U is broken. So it actually looks like it says PCB instead of PUB. So that's where you get the public error portion of this from. Now I'm going to pull out the book and show you what the book has to say about these particular notes. And by book, I'm talking about paper money of the United States. And we will just grab Freeburg number 91 and show you what we got. Oops, one too many pages. There we go. So there is the book. front, the back, and we're looking for 91, and you can see they've used this image since 1875. We gotta turn the page on this one, and there's a bunch of Freeburg numbers for here. We're looking for number 91, that's this one here. Spielman in white, small red scalloped, and you were talking 120 in a VG8. You're talking 185 in a 12, 225 in a 20, 425 in a 40. And then when you get to the uncirculated, you're talking 550, 850, and 1350 for gem. That's what the book has to say on the price guide. Now, the reason I brought out this particular note, because I know I've talked about these notes in the past, is because of a couple recent eBay sales. There was a gentleman who had 6 of these, and he sold all 6 together. And then he had 6 more and sold them all together. And then he had 6 more and sold them all together. And then he had 6 more and sold them together. And all of these sales were like a half hour apart. He had listed roughly, it was over 20 listings, and each listing had 6 of these. That means this guy had over 120 of these notes that he sold 6 at a time. And they sold for decent money. They sold for between $600 and $800 a piece for the 6 notes in the group. But there were 20 of these groups, okay? Which means you are going to start seeing a lot more of these popping up on eBay. Take that for what it's worth. If people are just putting them out there for a price and hoping to get a very specific price based on the grade, well, they may sit there for a while because there's going to be a lot of competition. But if someone bought 6 of these and finds that they can't sell them at the book price because there are so many of them right this second, they may start putting them up for auction. Which means if you don't have a Woodchopper, you may start seeing a bunch of these pop up in auctions on eBay, starting at really low prices. Well, you can only buy so many of these, right? I mean, there's only so many of them out there, and how many do you really want? So with 120 of these going to be coming to market soon, this may be a brief little window of opportunity to pick up one of these fairly cheap. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for a bunch of these to start being listed on eBay. Because like I said, one seller just sold 120, maybe more. Maybe it was 25 or 30 listings, but there was at least 20 listings, 6 per. So yeah, you're going to be seeing a lot more of these on eBay. Like I said, if you don't have one, it's a great opportunity to get one. But don't jump on the very first one you see because, like I said, there's another 120 coming. All right, that's what I got for you guys this week. If you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.